So for those who are, I don't know how many are attending this for the first time. So let me just thank you again for helping Entrep book, our Entrep book broke records, or to help break record and be a bestseller. The latest news is last night, uh, Mansmith as a company won the Agora Distinction Award for Nation Building in the 70 years history of PMA. They have only given five parties this prestigious award, no? And Mansmith was the only private company given this award. The previous four recipients were all government cabinet secretary or senator, no? So we're very proud to get this. One of the things that I always want to highlight is because the book is the four-gate model, and we always emphasize to enter a gate is very intentional. And that's the reason why we keep on emphasizing the importance of four-gate, no? Preparation, marketing, execution, self-leadership. Because it's very intentional. You have to decide, do you want to enter or not? No, it's a progression going from one gate to another. And even our definition of terms on what is entrepreneurship is based on the four-gate model. No, I have discussed this previously. So if you were not able to catch this particular portion, we are going to post these four sessions in the day 8 website. And so you can review this, no? And this is a public service. As mentioned, we don't just sell books and run. We want to support people to have supplemental lessons on the four-gate model. No, so I'm going to emphasize today is about self-leadership. So let's focus on self-leadership. And unlike the previous gatekeepers, preparation, the gatekeepers is you have the owners, the stockholder, marketing, you have the customer as the gatekeeper. Execution, you have employees, they're the one executing, no? But self-leaders, there's a different gatekeeper, yourself. And therefore, many people ask me, Josiah, how do you do this? How do you do that? What are your techniques? What are the strategies when you feel down and you have failure? And I, I always tell them, it's not just about the strategy or technique. It's a decision that you make constantly, no? And I also want to share about what is called a virtual marker. A virtual marker is a place where you see it every time, no? And our virtual marker is in our living room. Going to our dining room, you see all the big trophies are there, no? It's our virtual marker. So that sometimes when you feel you are failing, you remind yourself that you have done it before and you can survive this, no? So that's your virtual marker. It also helps you uh, have more faith in yourself that you have survived in the past and you're gonna survive again, no? So what's self-leadership? Self-leadership is essentially the ability of an individual to what? To influence, to motivate, and to guide themselves, no? To guide others is so important, but to guide ourselves is even more important. We cannot guide others if we cannot guide ourselves, no? Towards what? Towards achieving our goal. So which means, how can we guide ourselves if we don't know our destination? Our destination is our goal. So if you take a taxi and the taxi driver will ask you, boss, where are we going? Saan ho tayo papunta? And if you tell the taxi driver, hindi ko pa alam eh, sige, ikot-ikot ka muna. You'll never reach your destination. You don't have a goal. So that's the first thing you need to do. Where are you going? What's your goal? And if you know your goal, then you can motivate, guide yourself, influence yourself towards achieving your goal. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and you can maintain your personal and professional effectiveness towards, again, your goal. No? And it involves proactive steps, not reactive, proactive steps to manage your behavior, your thoughts, and your emotions. Because if you, whatever you feel, you can control, no? It's up to you. Whatever is in your mind, you can control. It's up to you. That's why you start with a decision. You don't let feelings influence you. You decide on how you want to feel, no? In a way that aligns with your values, with your objectives, and with your vision for success. And this definition is lifted from the book on entrepreneurship, the 4 Gate model. No, so I'm just basically being very intentional in what self leadership is all about. No, and it's understanding that a business is about a marathon. No, so when in Gate One, if you prepare, it helps tell you the momentum so that in case if you do meet some challenges, it tells you this is my destination. I know I'm gonna meet obstacle. So it's like an obstacle course. And you know it's a marathon. So these are two very important concepts in self leadership. And if we are not prepared mentally, emotionally, then we'll give in, no? And that's the reason why virtual markers are very important. You probably will learn this new word, virtual marker, no? And really understanding you're there for the long term. You don't want, short term. You don't want, you know that there will be a lot of obstacle, that everything is a rehearsal for the future. And whatever you're doing, you do need to recognize that whatever challenges you experience, wala yan. It's just preparing you for the future, no? And in fact, it's a biblical thing, no? So I want to show you, by the way, let me show, I think I have a video here. Let me show you a short video I saw in YouTube. So I want to share this with you about obstacle very popular people encountered in the past. No?
Dismissed from drama school with a note that read, wasting her time, she's too shy to put her best foot forward. Turned down by the Decca recording company who said, we don't like their sound and guitar music is on the way out. Failed soldier, farmer, and real estate agent. At 38 years old, he went to work for his father as a handyman. Cut from the high school basketball team, he went home, locked himself in his room, and cried. Teacher told him he was too stupid to learn anything, and he should go into a field where he might succeed by virtue of his pleasant personality. Fired from a newspaper because he lacked imagination and had no original ideas. His fiancée died. He failed in business twice. He had a nervous breakdown, and he was defeated in 8 elections. If you've never failed, you've never lived.
Well, interesting. I mean, these are very popular people, no? And then you realize, yun pala, naghirap din pala sila, no? Sometimes it's so easy to say, I want to have a life like this guy, but you don't know what was the past, no? Uh, writing Chinese characters is one example that can influence the way you think, no? I'm sure you've heard about this Wei Qi is the pronunciation of the meaning of the word crisis. The first character on the left means danger. The second character on the right means opportunity. So it's up to you. I mean, if you're near crisis, uh, it can be dangerous, but there could be opportunity. Look at SM, no? I really look at SM, the late Henry C. I said, oh my God, can you imagine in the 80s, no? Just when we had big trouble when Aquino was assassinated, it was so many businessmen were so afraid. And a few years after, during there was instability of the government. A few years after, in 1986, and SM North EDSA was launched. No? And then there were more instability. And guess what? Just when everybody were trying to be sure and not investing so much, Henry C was buying properties left and right. No, why? Because it's so cheap, and he had that vision. Sure, there's danger, but there's also an opportunity. No, so it's up to you. And we always share the story of Henry C. and SM North EDSA because people didn't know the backstory behind SM North EDSA. And the interest rate at that time was a horrible 40 plus percent per annum. I mean, how do you survive an interest rate of 40 plus percent? No? And yet, they're the richest family today. No? So I want to share with you a few stories. Prudz Garcia and his siblings, McKinney in Pampanga, Mount Pinatubo happened. Their parents had a small meat manufacturing company, McKinney, and it was affected by Pinatubo. So they all came back home. Just when there's crisis, they all came back, got together, and rebuilt McKinney and grew McKinney all over again. No? So it's up to you. I mean, you can say, well, Mount Pinatubo were affected and therefore I closed the business. It's up to you. I'm sure you've heard story about people talking about, hey, kasi we're affected with this, so I closed the business. Sure, that's one side of the story. The other side of the business is I'm sharing with you a story of siblings who were earning dollars as OFW, came home, and decided to rebuild a business started by their parents. And not only rebuild a business, in the process became a symbol of hope in Pampanga and in the Philippines. No? Cecil Pedro, Happy Toothpaste, lost the entire packaging. He was in aluminum packaging business. Happy Toothpaste was not in the toothpaste business. The original business was in supplying packaging to multinational, Close Up and Colgate, no? And after supplying, of course, the business, the specification and everything because you deal with them, no? So what happened? Well, the multinational decided to go to plastic packaging and they were abandoning aluminum. But Brazil Pedro had an aluminum tube factory. What do you do with that? You have employees. And so Cecil Pedro said, yeah, so maybe it's a rehearsal for me to create my own tooth. Maybe. And I need to survive. Why? Because my employees dependent on me. And so as you know, he has some deaf and mute employees. So who was dependent on him. So he created Happy Toothpaste. If I'm not mistaken, after 200 tries, I asked him, how many tries did you make? No, and even his personal story is a story of resiliency. When he was a boy, he fell from the third floor of his house. Can you imagine? You have a boy, 7, 8 years old, falling from the third floor of your house. So can you imagine? He survived, no? He was saved by a wire that got him to the second floor. So he didn't, of course he got hurt, no? But it wasn't as bad as two story. So he was still saved. And but he lived to tell the story. Said, I don't know, maybe I was lucky, and I was saved when I was a boy. And look at contemporary. We just awarded Mansmith Innovation Award to Mike Canlas, no? And that's Mike and Lucy Canlas, also an entrepreneur. And during the pandemic, they're into the video business, no? Video recording. Mike is a director. I met Mike when he directed me in a video of another project, no? And suddenly, they created Bang Bang Bangus, no? Now they have about 100 stores, all created during mostly created during the pandemic, no? And the wife, Luchi Canlas, created Bunny Banana, dessert made from banana, no? So I asked them, where'd you get the idea of putting bangus in a pizza box and come up with different flavors? With garlic flavor and whatever flavor. He said, well, all their video projects were canceled because pandemic, lockdown, and you're not supposed to be close to anyone. You're not supposed to have any project, and their business is non-essential, no? So he said it's a question of survival. We had to find something, and it's just for delivery. And he said, buti nga for delivery kasi no more, you can just do it in a small space. You don't have to open a retail store. So it's much cheaper for them. No? Donnie Tantoco, Rustan Supermarket. Rustan Supermarket has already been sold to Robinsons, no? Donnie Tantoco was in charge of Shopwise, which was doing extremely well as a hypermarket, and his family assigned him to turn around the supermarket. At the time he wasn't running it; it was run by an uncle, no? And he was able to successfully turn it around by being very authentic, by being very honest with the supplier, asking for the supplier support. And it was very strategic because he knew who to tap first. And the moment the first supplier said yes, then the second would say yes, and so on, so on. So, gate three execution, you need to plan out how you want to execute, no? And fortunately, they turned it around and it became profitable and they sold it. So now Rustan's department store is practically unscathed. No, it's still there, associated with selling luxury goods. No. So if you look at this, I'm gonna, so on the left side, the red color is preparation, the lower side marketing, and then you have the blue color is execution. The upper portion is self-leadership. So I'm gonna focus on moving forward, mission, and mastery, so basically, when you talk about moving forward, the resiliency, part of it is, there are a couple of things. I discovered 10 secrets of resiliency, which is uh, based on a book, no, that studied prisoners of war. Those people who were jailed and they were supposed to be presumed dead, but they survived, no? How come some people, prisoner of war, came home and they were wrecked, no? The others came home and they were normal, no? So they kind of studied the difference. And they discovered there are a couple of things that separates them. So here are the 10 things that I'd like to share with you. picking up from the lessons of prisoner, which is really one of the extreme cases of meeting crisis, is you're naturally optimistic. No? And so, is it is the glass half full or half empty? For you, it's half full, no? It's not half empty. You're an optimist, you're not a pessimist. You have role models. So take note, who are your role models, no? I'm kind of worried about some people roles model, and so the election is near again. And who gets elected to the Senate, no, is a reflection of society too, no? Sometimes I'm kind of worried about role models and how it affects, no? And then, of course, you have spirituality. When you're prayerful, you have a God, and you have a quiet time, you're reflective, you're gonna survive more. Why? Because it's like, you have your quiet time, you're talking to God and say, what's the lesson that you want me to learn? Why do you allow this to happen in my life? No? And so you have a conversation, and then so you have moral compass. And when you have moral compass, so you know what is right or wrong, no? You want to survive. You don't want to die. I mean, some people want to commit suicide and say, well, you have a and then there's a meaning, there's a purpose in life. And then you have cognitive flexibility. You can shift your paradigm, no? The way you think. And then you know that facing fear, you need to face fear. You don't want to run away. Many people, they experience crisis. What do they run away? But I don't think that's the right thing to do, but sometimes people have to learn it their own way, no? You don't want to run away. You want to face fear. And in fact, I'm an introvert, no? And I'm an accidental speaker. I hate facing crowd. But I have to get used to it, and some of you might feel, what, you're an introvert? Yeah, many times in a seminar, I talk to people, and then you'll see me, I'm in a corner, I'm alone, or I'm in a restaurant, I'm alone, I'm recharging, no? I have to recharge. I'm an introvert, no? And but I have to face fear. My fear is, I want to be alone. That's why writing book is so comfortable to me. Uh, and then brain fitness. Are you fit? Are you curious? That's probably another word, no? You're curious, you're always asking question, you're fit, you're kind of exercising using one tool and using another tool. You're always curious. Then you have friends. You have social support. And your groups, your community, they are so important. So make sure you don't have just one community. You have several community. And then physical training. If you're not exercising, do exercise. Look at the prisoners of war. They're already in isolation. They're still exercising. Why? Because they know it's good for them. It's good for their body. It's good for their brain. Something inside them is happening. So look at this, no, prisoner of war. They don't know. Maybe they'll be killed tomorrow. They don't know, but they survive. And they survive in a very good way. So I want to just share with you the importance of this thing. By the way, I wrote about this in my blog. So if you want to read the blog, just go to josiahgo.com, and I wrote about this during the pandemic, called Resiliency, no? Uh, and so a little more deep dive in the 4-gate model, together with what is called the 3 C's of capability building. No, you need capability in a business. It's always increasing capability, reducing risks. Always. because you don't want to increase your risk, reduce capability. That's crazy, no? Always increasing capability, reducing risk. So how do you increase capabilities? Capabilities, in essence, is really about three things, which we call the key factor for success. It's about commitment, competency, and coordination. It's not just about competency, what we have discovered. Mali yun. It's not, some people are very competent, but they're not committed. Or some people are very committed, but they're not coordinating, they're not communicating with each other. Disaster is going to happen. No? You need all three in order to be capable. No? So you have 3 times 4, the 4-gate model, and you have the 12 M's. No? So, and I'm not going to go into the details, it's in the book. No? But I want to tell you that there is a framework to the 3 M's of preparation, 3 M's of marketing, 3 M's of execution, 3 M's of self-leadership. It's an exhibit, but it took a long time to put it together because there is a basis for that, which is, the 3 capabilities and the 4-gate model. Some organizations like Go Negosyo focus on just 3 M's, no? Not the entire 12 M's. And they're not wrong. They're not deficient. They just want to focus on those things, no? And we have expanded to show you the impact of that, no? And previously we said you need AQ, adversity quotient, in terms of meeting adversity, the capacity to recover and make progress. No, so the 4 intelligences will remind you what is AQ. No, uh, so you prepare, you can think and reason. You can prepare your business model. Marketing, you can innovate. Execution, the capacity to sense and empathize to get things done. But leadership is about, resiliency, recovery, and make progress. I'm writing an article now, and I said, well, other than that, it's actually not just to recover, but to even make it stronger. You don't just survive and reestablish the status quo. When you recover even stronger, no? Uh, and last night we got an Agora award for nation building, and we're celebrating our 35th anniversary. But there's a trivia that many people are not aware of. 35 years ago, when we took over Mansmith was a bankrupt company, no? We were investors, we were not stockholders. We were stockholder, we were investor, but we did run the company. But the company went under, no? And we just took over. In fact, I think good karma, we returned the money of the managing partners because they needed it, no? So we said maybe it's good karma to us. But it was a bankrupt company. But from being a bankrupt company to being a force for good and being a market leader, that takes a very big transition. That takes insight, big idea, the capacity to recover and be even bolder, be even stronger, and be progressive, no? So then you have, mastery. So I'd rather show you a video about the 5 skills to master. Again, this is in the book, but the video is not. The video is in YouTube. You can just go to YouTube and get it. So I'm going to show it to you.
Marketeers and strategies are often involved in crafting marketing plans or strategic business plans. But before diving into planning activities, individuals or teams should ensure they have the requisite skills to perform this task effectively. Investing in skill development and training facilitates the foundation upon which marketing and strategic planning are built. So, what is required for effective strategic leadership in dynamic and complex environments? Sense making is about identifying,
analyzing and interpreting information, as well as understanding the implications of complex situations and data for their organization to win. It enables leaders to navigate uncertainty and make informed decisions in real time. Innovating involves introducing successful novelty in the marketplace. It can be new product, process, or business model. It allows organizations to challenge assumptions or stay ahead of the curve. Influencing is about motivating hearts and minds. It enables leaders to build consensus, rally support, and align diverse opinions within the organization towards achieving a common vision for change. Executing is about getting things done, setting clear goals, allocating resources efficiently, monitoring progress rigorously, building a performance culture, and adapting to unforeseen challenges along the way. It enables teams to prioritize tasks, managing timelines, identifying accountabilities to deliver tangible outcomes. Discovering is about spotting new insights, connections, and opportunities. It enables curiosity to be converted into collaboration and ambiguity into alignment. Sense making is needed today. Innovating is needed for our tomorrow. Influencing is needed to lead people. Executing is needed to do the required tasks. Discovering is needed to bridge everything. Sense making enables us to see things differently. Innovating enables us to offer things differently. Influencing enables us to connect differently. Executing enables us to do things differently. And discovering enables us to think differently. Welcome to the 5 skills of master strategies. Marketers and strategies are
we
often
believe in it so much. We created a video about it last year. In fact, we created a conference around the 5 skills of mastery, and to bring it down to details. Sense making is to think to sense, and influencing, of course, you need to speak. Execution need to act. But you have to know what you want to be. That's the reason why goals is to be. What do you want to be? And I realized that schools train us, uh, hope, but except that they're not emphasizing it as much. Somehow along the way, they lost it. No? I remember every year, our teacher would tell us, "What do you want to be? Write it." So, write it, and hoping that they can track what do you want to be. No, and then discovery. You listen, you feel, you have intuition, and you basically. So I learned about this when I was doing the book, The Rainmakers, in 2017. I realized, why do and this was a study of 25 CEOs. Why are CEOs like that? No? What skills do they have? What competencies do they have? What do they master? And I realized that, it's really about what is called the 5 skills, no? For sense making, for innovating, for influencing, for executing, and for discovering, no? But there are failures, no? Again, from self-leadership, failure to learn, to lead, and to love. And uh, and that's the reason why I always say it's a rehearsal. Why do you rehearse? You rehearse so that you can master, correct? You rehearse so that you can learn from the rehearsal. But if you are rehearsing and you get discouraged, you don't know what's the real thing, then you miss the point about rehearsal. That's the reason why many performances
And I always see Chiqui rehearsing, talagang spending time. Sometimes, she's going to just give a 30-minute talk, but she would rehearse, no? So you need to learn so that you can rehearse, learn from your mistake, improve on it, and so you need to lead, not to lead others, but the first person you need to lead is yourself. And to understand running away is not gonna solve many problems, unfortunately. You don't run away. You face the issue and learning to love ourselves, learning to forgive ourselves. That you don't, you are so hard on yourself that you still cannot forgive yourself for a mistake that you have done in the past. We all make mistakes. So I said, well, we're human beings. We're here to learn, correct? And that's the reason why we're born, no? And the ideal leadership value is to, when you learn, you kind of pivot, no? You kind of change. Change and transformation is such a good theme. But hopefully, before you change, you have a network. But you cannot network unless you have integrity. If you don't have integrity, nobody wants to network with you. It's easy to say, oh, networking, you need ecosystem, yeah, that's easy to say. I'll say, yeah, but do you have the integrity? What do you put on the table? Are you an asset to others? Sure, you have an ecosystem, you can top others, but why are you an asset? No? And do you have the wisdom to find insight? Again, last night I credit Chiqui for her insight 20 plus years ago. Because her insight is she was talking to the face to face, but no, she was talking to the participant, and she was she would man seminar without introducing that she's the CEO, no? And she would man just like a receptionist, and then she would talk to people. I'm sure people would be suddenly, shocked and say, "Why is this person very articulate?" No? And she would ask question, and then one day she said, "People are not there to learn, but they want to empower themselves. They want to soar, and when they soar, they want people to witness them soaring." And that insight, the wisdom to find the insight turn into big idea. Of course, without insight, you cannot have big idea. Otherwise, what's the basis of your big idea? And that's the reason why it is so critical. And I understand that even if it's just one sentence. And I said, wow, you need to appreciate that, in your own company. And the humility to listen that says, okay, what are these people trying to tell us? Now, many times I talk to our people, they have better idea. I say, okay, I go with you. Let's follow what you want to say. No? But we're in self-leadership that, you want to pivot, and, until you get it right. No? Until you get it right. And you want to make a difference, which is really the theme last night. No? And so why is it important? Because self-leadership is about your own reputation. Because are you going to be known for failure, or are you going to be known for success? Look at the video I showed you, Walt Disney and all these other people. They were not known for their early failures. I tell you, the moment you become successful, burado yung early failure mo. I was interviewed by Chinkitan in his channel, no? And I talk about my early failure. Many people were shocked and said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, that's my early failure. I don't care. I share it with people because I'm confident enough. I'm successful enough to share my early mistakes, no? And people don't judge you for your early mistakes. That's the reason why you always want to survive. And when you survive, you become an inspiration and you become useful to others. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to stop sharing. And I see Eric already early. So I'm going to ask Eric to give a talk. But let me introduce Eric, and then we'll call Chiqui to talk about we entrepreneur, and then we'll try to answer as many questions as possible about self-leadership. Now, Eric, I just want to tell you there's something common among us three speakers today, no? Eric was also last night. He also won an Agora award for marketing education. And so we're giving you the best in the field. No? Eric is also the program director of AIM for entrepreneurship, and he is the founding president of the International Council of Small Business in the Philippines. No, he set it up. He's the founding president, and we are big supporter of ICSB. No, and so Eric is also with PMA, actively supporting PMA. So without further ado, let me call in Eric Caeg to share with us about self-leadership, resiliency. Eric, thank you very much. I know it's a holiday. I forgot. When I scheduled this, I didn't know it was Chinese New Year, a holiday. But I appreciate you very much. Thank you for pinagbigyan mo kami.
Thank you very much, Joe, and good afternoon. Thank you for having me. And I'd like to greet everyone Happy Chinese New Year. My wife actually has Chinese roots, and back in Mindanao in Zamboanga. So I want to do this talk with a short storytelling. No, I did not actually prepare slides, so I'll be less academic and formal. So I was listening earlier to Joe, and I really appreciate how he gave all of you uh, how it is to be resilient, to move forward, and navigating the difficulties of being an entrepreneur. But I'd like to share my own story, which will be the first time probably I'm going to share this in public. 32 years ago, I got married at a very young age at 25. And my basic goal was simple: raise a good family of my own. And me and my wife, we were young. I was 25, she was 27, and we laid down the plan on how we're going to grow our family. So my wife was working corporate. I was also working corporate. But then again, when we had our first child after 2 years, the basic concerns of parents would be, how do you now put extra income to the family when your children are growing? And subsequently, 2 years after my first child was born, my second child came in. So at that point in 1997, I felt the need when I was doing a sales job, uh, selling a popular brand of shoes. I saw earlier yung kay Michael Jordan. We were selling Jordans. We were selling Nike footwear in Mondragon days. So it was a very beautiful job. I was in sales. I was handling accounts, and you know, remembering the word resiliency moving forward, I remember the first time I was introduced to our dealer. I'm not named the dealer, but it wasn't really very pleasant because the dealer did not welcome me because she was too used to the old account executive, and she literally told me that she doesn't want to deal with me. So, but then again, I had to go back. And every time I go back, wala akong order. I had no orders. I keep on bringing my samples to her office. Wala akong orders. And my boss just prodded me to keep on coming back. And over 6 months, almost 6 months na, sabi ko, hindi ako mariregular pag hindi ako to market. And with one request of our dealer, there was one request from her, and that request was above my pay grade to decide. So I had to bring it up to my boss, and the boss has to give it to the chief operating officer. Luckily, management allowed me to service the account, even while there's some things lacking in the accreditation. With that simple accommodation, everything changed. Orders started coming in. She started to refer me to her network of other retailers in this category of footwear and apparel. And within 2 years, my group in NCR became number one. And in 3 years, we became number two nationwide. My accounts became number two, and the number one was the SM group within our company. Right? So with that relationship, I get to remember, had I not pursued going back to the account for 6 months, experiencing, initial rejection, experiencing, so to speak, embarrassment, I wouldn't have developed this resiliency on my part. And what came after that were beautiful months, and I spent almost 6 years on the job. And every time I get my commission, and it was a good amount of money, and I told myself, what will I do with the commission? So I said, I will save money, and when the right time comes, start my own business. And in Salcedo Village, I get to park at the back of Makati Sports, and there was this laundry shop that I parked in front. And the owner said, if at one day you consider doing a business, we are franchising. So I did not mind it. The next day, I parked again, and I went to the laundry shop and got a flyer and saw the franchising mechanics and all. And it was being endorsed by a newscaster celebrity, okay, Julia Daza. So I went back to my office, walking to Mondragon, and I said, this may be probably a good business that while I'm doing corporate work, I'll be able to have my own business by franchising. So lo and behold, after a year of earning more budget, and at that time in '97, the franchise was almost 750,000. And I lack money, so I have to go to my brother. My brother Alex helped me to fill in the capital. So both of us, we became the franchisee number 16 of what used to be a large laundry chain called Lavandera. And at that time, the founder of that brand, one of the family members, Bobby Wan, was actually a co-founder of what is known today as AFFI, or Association of Filipino Franchisers, Inc. That is one story that actually exposed me to the entrepreneurial world. While my parents growing up have their own small businesses, this experience while working, while having my franchise for 5 years, it allowed me to be introduced to different entrepreneurs and learn from them. And side by side, while doing my work, I'm now contemplating on growing this business. Right? And it went towards 5 years, and we had to flip the business. And successfully, I actually became partner of my franchisor. But it was cut short when he was called by the Lord, so he passed away. All of these experiences that I had at the earliest ages of the 1990s to early 2000s allowed me to look at the entrepreneurial world. And I have a beautiful journey of being both in corporate and in employment. And in employment, while I narrated yesterday in my acceptance speech at the Agora that I actually journeyed towards different marketing roles, coming from a rank and file, going towards managerial and C-suite. One thing that I wanted to advocate for was how would people at the workplace improve their role, improving their take-home pay, and being able to support their family. So to me, it was very clear. It was all about family. And it was all about enabling people to have more to be able to support their family. So it was then at the start that I made myself to become a trainer for sales of frontliners because I said for entrepreneurs, they actually need better people to help them grow the business. But I felt like it wasn't enough. So I wanted to elevate my competencies towards engaging owners, engaging board of directors. So I got myself into learning more, right? So I went to certification courses like coaching, certification courses in marketing, equipping myself to be able to elevate my role, getting out of corporate now, being a consultant. And hindi siya nagtapos doon. Sabi ko kulang pa. Okay. In this journey, it wasn't, it wasn't an easy decision to leave a corporate job, to be an entrepreneur. Just like what Joe said, all of us do actually have plenty of experiences, and most of those we encounter are failures. And something difficult is that when you're inside the situation, right? Three A's that I always espouse. First is I should be aware of what's properly running right, aware of what's not going very well, self-awareness. Then later on, I have to accept the fact that if I'm failing, there's something wrong, I need to change. So there's a big difference between persistence and insistence. Persistence is when nagpupursige ka, insistence is nagpipilit ka. Pinagpupursigihan mo because there's an opportunity you know that will work, considering all the aspects, your resources, the viability of the opportunity, and how are you going to navigate everything. There are other people who see opportunities and yet they lack different resources, so they insist on it and eventually they will pay. So sa akin, yung mga earlier failures ko, sabi nga ni Joe earlier, no, it's a rehearsal. Okay. May kasabihan, practice makes perfect. Pero merong isang philosopher nagsabi, but nobody's perfect. So sabi ng pangatlo, why bother practice? So practicing is a rehearsal that will allow you to do things differently. And to where I am today, as a teacher, as a full-time clinical faculty, Population Institute of Management, coming from industry and getting inside the academy, I realized that there's a whole wide of difference into teaching. So I have to quickly adapt. I have to quickly study on how to become an effective teacher in a full-time setup in academia, right? And I've opened it up that it wasn't easy in the first 6 months, going 8 months. Having to face graduate school, right? Students who are coming from different disciplines. So ano yung ginawa ko? I studied most cases. I requested for mentorship. I was sent by our dean to a program with other different new professors for Harvard case teaching when the Harvard professor came here. So you just have to be aware of your weaknesses and be able to know what are the interventions that you would need to help you improve and be able to turn out things differently. Right? So with with the stage of my life at turning 58 and my children are all grown up, and I said, we're all done. So yung original goal, which was to raise a family, two beautiful children, now they have their own work. So what's next? And now self-actualization comes in, where you can actually do your role for others. As Joe mentioned, outside AAM, I do advocacy work with Go Negosyo, with other organizations like Philippine Market Association, with International Council for Small Business, to which I belong to the global board as well. You know, in ICSB Global, all of them are academicians and researchers. And when I joined them 5 years ago, I was from industry. That's why my designation there is a representative for private sector MSME. And when I joined AIM 2 years ago, and I made mention to them that I'm now part of academia as well, everybody celebrated. And yes, tonight we're actually having a board meeting at 11 p.m. Right. So all of these things that you get to do for yourself, for your family, for your business, will have to require you something extra. And those requirements sometimes are outside your comfort zone. And the question really is, will you pursue, or will you just step back and say, this is not for me? Well, something beautiful in my role today as academic program director of the Master in Entrepreneurship is that I'm a product of the program 24 years ago. So I graduated ME, and I recall, as I said earlier, if we're going to go back to what I mentioned earlier, that my first venture was a franchise. I remember enrolling into this program because a friend of mine said, you know, something beautiful that we learned in this program is we learned to organize, systematize, manualize our businesses. And I said, I'm interested, but my money was limited because I poured it all into the business. So instead of joining batch 1 in 1999, I eventually joined the third batch. And I remember I had to negotiate and make installments of my tuition fee. And remember, that was a period where I was having my franchise business. I remember the laundry was doing overtime until 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. You know, we wanted to serve our customers better, but at the back of my mind, you know, I have tuition fee to pay. Because at the time, you know, tuition fees, well, until today, you know, are quite a premium. So ang nakakatuwa doon, hindi alam ng parents ko na nag-AIM ako. Diba? My mother only knew about it when I was about to graduate. So they were asking, where did you get the money? So kaya pala ang taas na kuryente ng laundry mo. Kasi lagi kayo nag-overtime. Right? Because there was the goal. Kasi sabi ko, if I learn more and do better business, have more funds and budget to be able to save for my children's schooling, support my children. It was all about family. It was always about family. That's why yesterday I was so proud and happy that my family were with me. And, you know, it was just a beautiful experience where you feel like all the fruits of your labor has come to fruition. And my children witnessing the event yesterday. So what's next? Because I pledged myself, and as we heard the word earlier, committed. I committed myself to be an educator. Right? So now in a formal school setup, while before I was in professional education, doing training, doing speaking. Now I'm inside the academy. I still have a lot of improvements to achieve, right? Especially in what I do today. Especially with new technology, technology will have information available to every student at the fingertips. So now professors like us have more challenging roles to be able to facilitate the learning experience inside the classroom. So another round of learning, another round of equipping yourself. And you'll say, at this age, I'm near 60, will I still want to do all of this? And the answer is yes, because up until you have your last energy to be able to share to others. So I'm serving in a formal academic community, but it doesn't stop me from doing what I love to do outside, especially on weekends. So self-leadership, we're talking about self-leadership in this conversation. To me, it's self-actualization, bringing yourself to that level of achieving your greatest potential. And it's not about you, it's about others. And earlier, when Joe made mention that network ecosystem, if you don't have integrity and all, right? I always describe myself as a bridge. When I say bridge, I get to refer people a lot without asking for anything, right? No, nothing, right? Some people do business with one another, and that's okay. That's my role. I'm the bridge, and probably that is one area where my friends, my colleagues, outside school have seen in me. One, you're authentic, you're transparent, you're honest, and I always say something about honesty. you know, uh, you're honest even when there's no one looking, right? So self-leadership is looking at yourself, maintaining your core values, okay, from start to finish. For those of you who are uh, young enough to remember GMRC, right? So good morals, right conduct. That stays the same from young, midlife to old life. But competencies, attitude, they will have to improve. So I made mention in my post, thankfulness, gratefulness, and respect. These are my personal core values. And I get to maintain what I know and what I believe is right. I get to acknowledge people who have bridged me towards where I am today. And I made mention yesterday, and I'm really very fortunate. Joe is here, and he's one of them, right? I've seen him. I've read his books. In my earlier days in PMA, when I get to see him on stage, right? So all of these individuals that I made mention yesterday in my acceptance speech, they were the bridges, right? So ang tanong ko to everyone here in this session, who are these bridges in your life? And in turn, how do you become a bridge to others? And when people start gravitating towards your role as a bridge, you know that you're leading yourself correctly. And there'd be least expectations from connecting people. And eventually, things will come. And I said yesterday, at the right time, I always say there was the right time for everything. Right? So I hope I'm able to share with you how it is that I was able to navigate both corporate, entrepreneurial life, and now how I'm journeying in my academic life, right? And yes, I'm still a student, by the way. So I'm enrolled. I'm trying to achieve another degree. Kind of difficult because I wear a lot of hats, right? But then again, as we said, as long as you know your goal, as you know your vision, right, you will have to find out how to get there. Sa akin, tapos na yung unang chapter with me and my wife. Our children are settled. They'll have their families soon, and they'll be in charge of their own families as well. Now we have to rewrite our own chapter for the next 25 to 30 years. And hopefully be equally successful in how we accomplish our first 30, 33 years, 32 years together. So my basic foundation was my family and everything in between. In ICSB, I'm categorized as a necessity entrepreneur. The necessity was for the family. So I was not able to, create a huge empire. But then again, it was all about looking how I supported my family. That was my basic goal. Now it turned out that as I connect, as I do my advocacy for MSMEs, I get to meet a lot of people, engage with them. They become my network. And beautifully, we get to connect each and every one's resources to other people who may need it better. So with that, I hope I was able to inspire you. And, I always say it this way. People are inspired with what you hear and what you see on sessions like this. But the question really is, how motivated are you? Okay? So get inspired and be motivated to reflect on yourselves and see how am I going to do things differently so that the results will be a lot better. And I just measure it every single day. Was I better yesterday? That is a question that I always ask myself in all the aspects of my personal life, leading towards my professional life outside home. So we get to reflect on all of these, and I hope that you're able to capture one or two takeaways with what I shared with you. Jojo, first time to share this.
Thank you. Galing, Eric. So thank you for sharing your laundry business. Meron bang taga-laundry dito? Gusto niya magtanong kay Eric habang Professor Eric while he's still here, no? Baka meron din kayong laundry business. You're open up to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, alam mo nung pumasok ako sa AIM, Joe, hindi nila tinanggap yung laundry dahil sabi nila, hindi mo negosyo yan eh. 'Di ba? You have to have your own. You have to have your own. And the challenge when they accepted me was to create a new concept, run it, and have it franchised in 18 months. So I had an idea which I knew at that time was early for its industry. I created a laundry shop with an internet cafe inside it and called it Cyber Laundry. At that time when internet was 50 pesos per hour and you have to subscribe one account per computer. And I launched it, and when I graduated after 18 months, I had 3 franchises. Of course, something that I had to deal with my franchisor was for him to agree for me to do this for my academic requirement, right? And he actually agreed. And when I graduated, sabi ko parang it's too early at that time kasi sa internet cafes, ang uso noon yung barilan. Ano yun? I forgot what that game was. Everybody was into that video game, right? So tapos yung self-service, which is today very popular. We were trying our best to do self-service, but then again, people will just go and sit in our lounge, have coffee, but still have our people do their laundry. So sabi ko, self-service, baka maaga pa rin. Hindi pa rin siya akma, no? Because that was 1997, right? So sometimes there are opportunities, there are ideas that may be probably early for its time, right? Ang dami idea. So for those of you who are innovators with creative minds, right? Tingnan nyo rin if the market is tuned to your idea kasi baka mamaya ikaw lang. Ikaw lang. So what happened after that? I went back to the original laundry setup. Tanggal muna yung computer. Ganda sana, di ba? Kaya lang, it had to require 100 square meter, double the size of what we had, which is only 50 square meters, right? More double the investments. We thought like, you have more value proposition for a potential investor, right? Just because you're offering two businesses at a more affordable franchise package, right? But beautifully, I was able to prove to my professors that it actually worked because I actually opened 3 more stores aside from mine, right? So, yan yung masasabi ko na isa sa mga idea ko na probably too early, probably a decade or so or a decade and a half earlier for its time. So many other ideas that I failed to implement. Ayun pa pala isa. Marami nakikinig. Marami kaya idea pero hindi nyo in-implement. Okay? Baka magsisisi na lang. Ang dami ko ring regrets sa mga ideas. Di ko na sabihin, this involves advertising concepts, right? And they were actually done, executed by other people. Right? So yung mga mahilig magpa-copyright at saka intellectual property dyan, siguraduhin yung gagawin yan. Kasi iba may lakas sa loob, pina-copyright, pina-IPO, pero hindi nagagawa. Yun yung isa sa marketing failure ko. And yeah, first time to admit it on air here.
Well, we all have failures, so we're courageous. Once you become successful, you're courageous to admit mistake.
I'm still having goosebumps admitting it here. Totoo lang. So thank you very much. I hope the audience was able to get some.
Salamat, Eric, Professor Eric, AIM. If you want to study in AIM, then Professor Caeg is the program director, no? So he's not just an academic, he's a practitioner. So he knows what he's talking about, no? Salamat, Eric. Yeah, and Chiqui.
Yeah, can I just ask one question from Eric before he
Sure.
leaves?
Surely.
I'm an anthropologist, so I'm just curious. Kasi it seems natural for you to be able to come up with ideas, to rise from your failures. So meron kang ganon. And you mentioned the necessity aspect of it. Kailangan you had a family. But marami namang taong may necessity, di ba? But they're not as resilient. Now, I want to learn about your family, your parents, your how you grew up, your schooling. What were you like, and what was the environment for you like growing up?
My parents came from, I would say, hindi nga middle income eh. My father was a farmer, right? He worked his way to support himself in school. Okay, he entered as what we used to call a janitor in the defunct Republic Bank. I don't know if you get to remember that brand.
No.
He was a janitor at Republic Bank, and after 25 years, he was already the branch manager. My mother, well, she never worked for corporate. She had her strings of small businesses, basically into food, right? And when I mentioned yesterday that the legacy of my parents to the world were 5 children, right? And my brother who just retired as senior vice president of PLDT in Smart, my second sister is a dentist. My third sister is a pediatrician, so 2 doctors. I'm the fourth. My youngest sister is a vice president in PNB. So pretty much on, with what my parents were able to, produce as children. That's why sa akin, family was very huge. And I was so fortunate that, my sisters canceled their patient appointments. My youngest sister went on half day. My brother-in-law, so vice president of BDO, they were all there yesterday. So I was putting a testament that my hardworking parents were able to, bring out kaya yung level of excellence. No? That's something highly regarded. I saw when I said earlier, yung pagpupursige, I saw how my sister studied, medicine, dentistry. My two siblings who were, economics graduate in DLSU, right? So all of these experiences while growing up, right, na shinare ng parents. So sa akin, when you said earlier na mukhang natural yung pag-travel mo, pagka nadapa, bangon uli, kasi lumaki kami sa ganun. Nakita namin sa parents namin at sa history ng parents namin na there's no growth when you try to learn on your failures, right? Although ako sabi ko nga, I don't have a book yet. A lot of things I can share. Sabi nyo nga, no? You can be vulnerable when you're at this level. But then again, minsan nakakahiya pa rin. Yung pala nangyari sa'yo. Di ba? Yung pala yung pinagdaanan mo. Di ba? And yeah, that's who we are as a family. And the third generation in our family is quite admirable, fantastic. We have millennials who are 30 to 35 years old, but their careers are, I would say, mas fantastic kesa sa amin. Okay? Sa kanila, baliktad. They build their assets as early as they could. Kami, baliktad. We built our family at a young age. So nakita natin yung difference ng generations. Our young generations now, they own their own respective condominiums and all. They have beautiful paychecks in multinationals, right? Kami baliktad, inuna yung pamilya. Sila baliktad, inuna nila yung asset. So ang tanong ngayon, kailan sila naman gagawa ng pamilya nila? Diba? So magkaiba yung approach. But then again, something common to all of us is that we highly value family. We get together a lot. We eat out a lot. We celebrate a lot. Kaya ang family pictures namin puro nasa kapagkainan. So that's
Eric?
Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Josh, there's a question. Is this for
While Eric is here, I'd like Eric to answer, if that's all right. No?
I'll read it na lang. There's an anonymous attendee asking, are leaders and entrepreneurs born or made? What do you think?
Are leaders and entrepreneurs born or made? I would say, you develop these as you grow, right? And you look at your influencers. As Joe made mention earlier, dapat tama yung role model mo. Kasi baka leader, pero leader, iba yung path, right? Mine, I had friends at a young age. They were leaders, but I knew what where they were going were, not right for me, right? So hindi ako susunod. Yung tinatawag na peer pressure, especially at a young age, right? I would say, buti na lang, the guidance from my mother. And, I studied in boys' school from elementary to college, right? So, highly spiritual and religious as well, right? So, yun, naging guidance ko yun. Now, I learned leadership in different spaces, okay? In school, organizations as well, right? That's why you also know how to discern what's the right and the wrong type of leadership. Pwede mong, in my corporate, both family business and corporations. So a lot of leaders I saw, and sa sarili ko, one day when I become like them, I know what to emulate and what not to implement at the workplace, right? And literally, another first. Because a lot of people have been asking, and probably some people last night was asking, di ba HR to and OD, paano to naging marketing? In between, when I had difficulty with marketing people, I said, ano yung, it's about people. So, pumunta ako na human resources. Tapos sinabi ko, hindi lang pwedeng basic ng human resources. Punta akong OD para maintindihan ko to lahat. So now I'm in that space. So with what Joe made mention on IQ, EQ, creative and adversity quotients. When I studied emotional intelligence, that's where I was able to deepen my understanding of the workplace. Kasi nung bata ako, reactionero. Pag di ko type yung boss ko, alis ako. Yung gano'n. Ngayon hindi eh. We get to understand this and develop different skill sets, in those four quadrants. Then later you'll be able to build the type of leader who you want to become. Right? So sinasabi ko palagi, you have to be open to these possibilities of learning more and see if your outcome is different. And I can validate that it does because I can say probably 35 years ago, I'm not this.
We all grow.
We all grow. I totally agree.
Yeah. So let me read the next one. I'm also an AIM alumni, OMBA 2024. Oh, wow, a fresh graduate. Thank you for sharing your resilience and self-leadership story. My question is, what kept you going when the going gets tough? What was your inspiration to stand up and break barriers? Oh, tinutukan ka ba ng baril or ano bang nangyari sa'yo, Eric?
Just to continue with what, hello to OMBA 2024 and probably baka naging estudyante ko siya. Okay, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going, what reminds me of this saying is that tough times never last, only tough people do. Right? So, it comes in phases, whether you like it or not. The point is, will you be able to stay and move on or will you be washed away? Alright. So kanina sabi mo, 'di ba, people will be positive thinkers. Pero ano yung route to being positive? Right? Again, I look back. Lagi na look back, no. Ito rin probably, I don't know, Chiqui and Joe, dahil your kids are also grown up. Sabi ko, pagtapos ka na pala sa pamilya, tapos na yung first stage eh. Then what's next? You'll find a new anchor for the next 30 years. Right? And sa akin, yun yung naging anchor ng resiliency ko. That my children will continue to study, they'll be raised in a good environment. May sinet akong kami ng wife ko na sa amin lang, internally for domestic standards. So these are the things that we wanted to achieve for our family. So yun. So every time I did so many things. I call myself serial entrepreneur as well. Ang dami. Pero just to put food on the table, shelter above our heads, education for my children. So that's I hope I was able to answer. Wala akong fixed formula on how I did it. Sa akin, it was all about my family.
Which is enough reason for you to
Oh yeah.
be
The only reason, right? Ito pala yung stage. Ngayon ko na nalaman yung ibig sabihin ng midlife crisis. Kasi ako hands-on ako eh. I'm micromanager dad, right? So pretty much when you have to let them go, right? You have to teach yourself again how to do it.
Very good. So we have to move on.
Yep. Thank you.
And we'll try to answer more questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Eric. Chiqui is going to talk about the finale of the book. The finale of the book, to confess to everyone, it's called The We Entrepreneur. We actually wrote the finale first. We launched the book years before. So the entrepreneurship book, 4-Gate model, is actually a prequel. Nauna yung ending. So talking about innovation, writing the ending before the beginning. So Chiqui is going to discuss it on the We Entrepreneur. Chiqui, take it away. By the way, aside from anthropologists, Chiqui used to be the chair of the Women Business Council of the Philippines. She used to be an adjunct professor of Ateneo. She has 2 master's degree. She is a fantastic listener, and she's also my boss, by the way. So just to put everything, we work together. So aside from this entrepreneurship, we also run a program called Married Couples Working Together. No? So Chiqui, please take it away.
Yeah. Can you share your slides, Josh?
Yes.
Please. Thank you. So thank you for having me. This is we have about 30 minutes left. I'm not going to take up a lot of time. I hope you do have access to the book We Entrepreneur, or it's even mentioned in the Entrep book as well. Okay. So as Josiah mentioned, no, we came up with the book We Entrepreneur years ago, when it was a time that we weren't actually quite open with our lives yet. No, Eric mentioned something about being very vulnerable pag nagkwento ka ng tungkol sa buhay mo. But that's exactly what we did when we wrote the book. As a matter of fact, I had resistance when we were putting this together. Kasi sabi ko, do we have the right to talk about being a whole entrepreneur? We were having young kids, family concerns, challenges, and we're putting ourselves out there. Do we have the right? And Josiah wrote the 5 tasks, which is on the left side of your screen. And he knew, sabi niya, hindi kumpleto to kung wala yung the other side. And he knew that I would be the best person to write about the 5 treasures. We were both entrepreneurs, and that's the challenge of husband and wife working together. That's why we had a special talk or seminar event, no, trying to really sort out the challenges of married couples working together, because we went through it. We went through the challenges. Now, the challenges, for example, that Eric talked about, if you can actually break down into these 2 frameworks that are on your screen that is on your screen right now, the 5 tasks and the 5 treasures. Now, when you come up with a new business, maybe at the start, it's all about really trying to provide for your family, which is really a legit way of starting a business. Kailangan, it's a necessity. You're raising a family, you need to set up a business. Of course, what you're looking into is how money flows, no? And that's part of the preparation. And you see that it's important. Well, I'm gonna start with the red part there, exciting vision mission. But Josiah and I realized that for a lot of entrepreneurs, you don't really start with the vision mission right away. I mean, some do if you're a social enterprise, but the others parang, hindi, kailangan ko lang bumenta kailangan ko lang kumita para naman may magagastos, di ba? Somehow, not to diminish that vision, but that vision would be actually as simple as, I need to provide for my family. And that's exciting for you because you need to. Maybe the mission comes in later to help more families, if you're into finance, all these things. But there's a vision. You want to have a comfortable life. You want to have personal freedom, financial freedom, or stability, right? So maybe that's just the start of a vision. But a businessman, an entrepreneur always has that. You want to get into something, and that something is exciting enough to make you want to get up in the morning. Okay? So, may bago akong idea, may bago akong negosyo. And then you have the yellow phrase there, enduring cash flow. And we're really putting that on the top of like a cross, right? Because it is something that all entrepreneurs must look into. How will you pay your suppliers? How will you get stocks? How, all these things if you don't have cash flow. Cash is king. Which means, by the way, you need attractive profit, which is on the other side of the horizontal axis. You can't just come up with something na maliit ang kita and does not even include your salary or your time. And I've encountered a lot of entrepreneurs that way na simple, no? Nagbebenta ng pandesal sa mga construction worker. For example, as simple as that. So, pag pinakompute ko sa kanila o magkano yung pandesal, palaman, minsan nga nakakalimutan pa isama yung pamasahe. Pag hindi kailangan kasama yan. Yung oras mo. Hindi nila pinapasok yan. So, it has to be attractive enough because you need to keep going and you need to cover for emergencies. Very important is compelling value. What are you offering? No? What is your business all about? Why would I buy from you? So value proposition. So when you have an exciting vision mission, you look at, and that's part of the business plan, right? You have a target market, and then you must have a compelling value proposition. People must want to buy from you, no? Desirable siya, no? And then finally, after nakita mo lahat yan, you have to have solvable execution issues. Ibig sabihin, mai-implement mo ba? Feasible ba siya? For example, you want to come up with a spa and you've set up and spent for the facilities, and all of a sudden you realize you can't have a business there kasi residential area. As simple as those things. Sometimes entrepreneurs overlook those technical and legal matters. So simple, no? It's all about business. Do you have an exciting vision mission? Desirable ba yung product mo? Compelling ba yung value? Kikita ka ba, which is attractive profit? Makakakuha ka ba ng cash flow? Ibig sabihin, makakasingil ka ba? Hindi puro utang. And what about, can you execute well? Can you do it well? Do you have the competence, capabilities, which is part of the execution issue that we discussed in Gate 3. Now, that's one part. As we know, like as what Eric said, you do a lot of things for family. And Josiah also talked about the spiritual matters. And if you look at Eric's foundation, pamilya niya nanay, tatay pa lang nakita na niya. And that's a strong role modeling setup. You realize na parang, okay, how do I get there? Which tells you one thing. If you don't have that strong foundation, maybe your parents are not entrepreneurial. Maybe you didn't have the best opportunities in school, for example. It's now the environment that you choose, no? That defines what your future might be like. It's the people that you surround yourself with. And later on, I'll talk to you about relevant network. But let's start with belief in God. This is important because entrepreneurship has really a lot of failures and challenges. And if you don't have that spiritual strength to know that, okay, I tried my best, God will do the rest, you're going to fall really down and depressed. Now, also important is your beloved family. And again, frequently mentioned by Eric here. Why are you doing this? It's important that you have anchored on something. And when I say family, some of you will say, wala naman akong asawa, wala naman akong anak eh. It could be your association that you're with. It could be the neighborhood. It could be the community. It could be your advocacy family that you're looking into, because it gives you meaning. Again, wanting you to wake up at the next day because I'm volunteering in that orphanage, for example. That's my family. So all these things give meaning, and you will see that no in this framework. And that leads to a meaningful self. You want, at the end, hindi madali. Part yung sa journey, yung kumita ka, negosyo yan eh. And then you spend it on yourself. Sige, you need it for your latest cell phone, etc. But at the end of the day, you said, okay, what have I done? I've done things for myself, but how meaningful is it really when you don't do it for others as well? No? So merong lalabas na yan yung mga purpose. And then, of course, good health, very important. Something that Josiah and I are working on, really. We're trying to work on this. Kasi nakakalimutan yan ng maraming entrepreneur. Puyat, nalilipasan ng gutom kasi nga may kailangan asikasuhan na emergency. Nakakalimutan or pagdating ng hapon or paggising mo sa umaga, wala ka ng strength or oras para mag-exercise, all those things that you have to consider, because you need that to be able to make things happen again, to enjoy your benefits, the attractive profit, so you have a chance to give to others and create a meaningful self, so you have a chance to spend time with family and eat out, as Eric said, and all these things. But if you don't have good health, you all know what's going to happen. And as I said about relevant network, very important that you surround yourself with people who are good and positive and role modeling. Iba yung positive na feel good lang. Yung really people who can bring you up, no? And help you become a better person. So if you look at it, no, that's 5 and 5. Is it pasado ka ba pag sinabi mo, 8 out of 10 ako, pasado naman ako eh. Diba? Kung ang dalawang nawawala sa'yo, as I mentioned, is good health, for example. Kung nawawala sa'yo ay cash flow, paano wala kang magagastos? You see what I'm saying? So the 5 tasks and the 5 treasures actually go together. It has to be a 10 out of 10. So here are different slides that look into it. Like, what is your value proposition to your beloved family? You spend so much time at work. Why do they want to be with you at the end of the day? You think about it. Execution, you need a good set of people, a network to help you get things done. Profit, you need good health from all of these efforts. And that's kind of the profit that you want to gain, really. Cash flow, as I mentioned, you need it for your meaningful self so you can help others and even improve on yourself, as improve, take further studies, etc., to gain a meaningful self. And finally, what can be a stronger vision mission than something that is anchored with your belief in God? Okay. Is there another slide, Joe? Okay. Now, people say, yan, mga tanong, can you actually be a leader? Can you actually learn to be positive, for example? Can you actually even be happy? And there is actually this is from Ben Tal-Shahar from Harvard. You know, when he started teaching this, medyo, you're teaching a course in happiness in Harvard. You know, konti lang nag-enroll. And you know how many people he has now? How many students? As much as 600 in a class. Because everyone says this is so life transforming. And this is a simple formula that he put together. That people, to gain happiness, is not all about pleasure. You have to have meaning in your life. It has to be meaningful. Otherwise, puro pleasure, hedonistic yan, yung orange. More pleasure. Sige, magbe-beach ako, gagastusin ko lahat ng aking kinita, walang ipon. Di bali na, okay lang naman, basta pang ngayon, no? Very today. I'm a hedonist. More pleasure. And then meron naman, less pleasure, less meaning, wala nang maganda sa buhay. Nahihilis ang tawag doon. Pinanganak akong mahirap, habang buhay akong mahirap, wala namang tutulong sa akin, na yung pinasok kong pera, nalugi ka agad, talagang malas ako. You know, that's nihilist, no? That's a nihilist. So wala kang kinasaya sa buhay mo at walang meaning. Now, meron naman rat race, no? Nasa rat race ka, parang rat racer. Parang pag nagawa ko to, makakabili ako ng bahay. Pag nakabili ako ng bahay, pwede na akong bumili ng kotse. Pag nabili ako ng kotse, you know, walang katapusan, pero pagod na pagod ka na. Pero may meaning, 'di ba? Na para sa pamilya ko to, gagawin ko to lahat, 'di ba? Pero hindi ka masaya. Happiness tells you that you need to find pleasure in something that is meaningful. So I always go back to my students, for example, what makes you happy? No, gusto ko mag-travel. Okay, gusto mo mag-travel, paano ka makakarating doon? Di magtatrabaho. Anong klaseng trabaho, no? So ito na. So you know, you have to keep asking and asking until people find, oh, this is my real purpose. This is what gives me meaning. I want to spend time with my family. That's more meaning. So maybe I can work from home and do this. So it gives me pleasure and it's meaningful. So it balances both. Maybe, you know, I could invest more time here while my children are in school. So, you know, it's all balancing things and making things more pleasurable and more meaningful. So hindi pwedeng walang meaning, pleasure lang. Hindi naman pwedeng pleasure, puro meaning, mapapagod ka rin at nawawala yung pleasure. So to find happiness, you have to have a balance of both meaning and pleasure. He actually compared this to a hamburger. Parang pag alam yung merong heart attack hamburger, 4 na patties, tapos bacon na nakasuksok at saka cheese na pinrito lahat yun sa lard. Sarap, di ba? Pero heart attack burger yun. Talagang pleasurable siya, pero ilang buwan na lang kaya at ilang linggo ka na lang mabubuhay at maha-heart attack ka. So that's hedonist, no? Meron namang less pleasure, less meaningful. Para kang hindi puro bawal lang. Vegetarian, no? I'm no offense to vegetarians here, but for us who eat hamburgers, parang ano lasa ng veggie burger, no? Parang so, pero bukas ano ka? Healthier ka, you know? All these things. What you want is the perfect burger, healthy burger that can give you more both pleasure and happiness, and meaning and happiness. So I think that's my last slide. Joe? Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to just promote this and just share with people that if you want to learn about self-leadership, I think one of the interesting factor is about 5 years ago, we actually interviewed 30 people. And it's now in mansmith.net. It's no longer in Continuum. It's back in Mansmith website, mansmith.net. And you can choose, people like Chinkitan, who spent 6 or 7 years in college, to Euclid Caesar from famous Belgian waffle, who spent 9 years in college, to Francisco, who spent 7 years, Joe Mag, Paco Magsaysay, Cecil Pedro, who fell from the third floor. These are all interviews we've done, men, women, and they all have their own stories of resiliency to share. No? So if you want to learn more about this, you can actually go to mansmith.net and learn about this. No? Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing and answer questions. No, so let me.